In the first round of the NFL playoffs, the Arizona Cardinals face a familiar foe in the Los Angeles Rams. In this video, I'm going to size up these two teams to see who has the edge. Now, right off the start, these two teams are coming to the playoffs in very different places. The Cardinals have been banged up, and they've lost 4 of their last 5 games. Now, the Rams, on the other hand, have won 5 of their last 6 games, and although they did lose to the 49ers last week, they have been playing much better football than the Cardinals recently. And for this reason, many Cardinals fans are not particularly optimistic about this matchup. So let's start by looking at some of the key rankings of these two teams. Starting with offensive rankings. Both teams rank in the top 10 in total yards per game, with the Cardinals ranking 8th and the Rams ranking 9th. The Rams have been the better passing team this year, ranking 5th, with the Cardinals ranking 10th, but the Cardinals have been better running the ball, ranking 10th in rushing yards per game, where the Rams are 25th. But in points per game, the Rams have an edge. They are tied for 7th in points per game, whereas the Cardinals are at 11th. When we look at defensive rankings this season, the Cardinals have an edge. They rank 11th in total yards allowed per game, whereas the Rams rank 17th, and the Cardinals' passing defense has been much better this year, ranking 7th in yards allowed, whereas the Rams are 22nd. But Cardinals fans know that the team has been very bad against the run, and they rank 20th in yards allowed against the run, whereas the Rams are much better, ranking 6th. Now, in terms of points per game, the Cardinals are tied for 11th and the Rams are at 15th. But it is important to remember that these are season-long statistics. The Cardinals' advantage in these rankings is largely buoyed by the fact that they played really well in the first half of the season. But with their recent struggles, I don't know that I would confidently say that the Cardinals have a better defense than the Rams right now. Another metric I like to look at is Football Outsiders' DVOA. For a full explanation of DVOA, I recommend you check out Football Outsiders' website. The short version is this is a measure of efficiency. How well do teams do in different kinds of situations compared with other teams in those same types of situations? It also weighs certain situations more heavily than others, like third downs and goal line situations, things like that. The Rams rank better across the board in terms of the DVOA metric. They're better in total DVOA, ranking 5th with the Cardinals at 10th. In weighted DVOA, which weighs recent games more heavily, the Rams are 7th and the Cardinals are 16th. The Rams are 8th in offensive DVOA and the Cardinals are 15th. But these two teams are close in defensive DVOA, with the Rams ranking 5th and the Cardinals 6th. And we see in special teams the Rams far outpace the Cardinals, ranking 4th, whereas the Cardinals are 20th. So in terms of these rankings, the Rams already have a clear edge overall. But let's look at these teams in one more way before we make our final assessment. Let's look at their rosters and compare them position group by position group to see who has the better roster right now. Starting with quarterbacks. Now, both of these teams have outstanding quarterbacks. Kyler Murray and Matthew Stafford have both been in the MVP conversation at various points throughout the year. So when you're looking at two quarterbacks that are this good, I think it's important to look more closely at the statistics before we make a final assessment of who has the advantage. Now, this year, Kyler Murray missed 3 games due to injuries. So I'm going to take his base stats here and extrapolate them over 17 games. Essentially, take a look at how many yards and touchdowns, interceptions he would have if he had played 17 games at the pace he's played over these 14 games. Both quarterbacks have been very accurate, though Kyler Murray has a slight edge in completion percent. And we see, even with these extrapolated statistics, Matthew Stafford is ahead by almost 300 passing yards and 12 passing touchdowns. Now, he does have more interceptions than Kyler Murray, and he doesn't have nearly the rushing yards or the rushing touchdowns that Kyler Murray has. Stafford has put up the bigger passing numbers, but Kyler Murray brings something in that rushing game that Stafford simply doesn't have. An ability to extend plays, put pressure on the defense with his ability to run. That's something that absolutely has to be considered. Now, when we look at some of the ratings and advanced metrics, it's a mixed bag. Stafford has a slight edge in quarterback rating, and he's also ahead in ESPN's proprietary QBR metric. But Kyler Murray does rate higher in PFF's offensive grade and quite a bit higher in their passing grade. When you have two quarterbacks this good, it's really tough to identify which one is better. And if you ask fans of either quarterback, they're going to construct an argument for their guy, highlighting certain statistics and downplaying others. I think this one is close enough when you take all things into consideration that I'm going to go ahead and call it a tie. I have my opinions about who I think might be better, and you probably have yours. And we could go around and around about which stats are more important. But these are two really good quarterbacks, and I'm just going to go ahead and call it a tie at this point. Next, we get to running backs. I'm going to give the edge to the Cardinals here. I know the Rams have been really banged up in the running game, and Sony Michel has done an admirable job for them. But the Cardinals have a better running game overall in their yards per game, and James Conner has been a touchdown machine for them this year. But when we move on to receivers, I'm going to give the clear edge to the Rams. Cooper Kupp is having an all-time great season. Van Jefferson has emerged as a really good receiver. Tyler Higbee is an outstanding tight end, and Odell Beckham Jr. is still very talented. If DeAndre Hopkins were healthy, this would be much closer, but the rest of the Cardinals receiving core has been very inconsistent and has struggled in his absence. So overall, I'm going to give the advantage to the Rams here. When we look at offensive line, I'm also going to give the advantage to the Rams. The Cardinals offensive line has been banged up, and even when it's been healthy, I would say that the Rams offensive line has been better. In fact, the Rams offensive line has been one of the best in the NFL this year. And when we get to the other side of the line, the defensive interior, I'm also going to give a clear advantage to the Rams. Now, Zach Allen has been playing very well for the Cardinals recently on the interior defensive line, but no one compares to Aaron Donald. If you've got Aaron Donald on your interior defensive line, you're probably going to win this matchup 9 times out of 10. But when we go to edge rushers, I am going to give the advantage to the Cardinals. Now, the Rams do have some nice edge rushers in Leonard Floyd and Von Miller, but the Cardinals duo of Marcus Golden and Chandler Jones both have double-digit sacks this year, and altogether, I'm going to give them the edge. When we get to inside linebackers, this one's really kind of tough. Neither team, in my opinion, has been outstanding at this position, but I'm going to give a slight edge to the Cardinals. But if you think it should be a tie or even argue the Rams have better inside linebacker, I'm not going to argue with you there. It's really close, but I think between the athleticism of Isaiah Simmons and the experience of Jordan Hicks, the Cardinals just have a little bit of an edge here. When we get to secondary, though, I'm going to give the edge to the Rams. The Rams have one of the best cornerback rooms, highlighted by Jalen Ramsey, with Darius Williams and Dante Dion rounding out the group nicely. Now, I do like the Cardinals' safeties better. Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson, in my opinion, are arguably the best tandem of safeties in the NFL. But when you take the whole defensive backfield all together, I think the Rams have a better group right now. I'm also going to give the Rams the advantage in special teams. The Cardinals have struggled in the return game, and DVOA clearly favors the Rams here. So when you put everything together, all the rankings, the side-by-side comparisons of the rosters, I'm going to say the Rams clearly have an edge in this game. They're favored going into this game, and they should be. But if you think that the Cardinals don't have a chance to come out of SoFi Stadium with a W, you either haven't watched enough football, or you're just blowing hot air. Divisional games like this are always unpredictable. The Rams are favored, but the Cardinals absolutely have a chance to go in there and win the game. So tell me, what do you think are going to be the key matchups for this game? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, please do me a favor and click like on this video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on The Cardinal Rule.